Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of videos in places that I have never seen before. This is my boyfriend's apartment. Uh, so today I thought we'd talk about something that no one's requested me talk about, but it kind of links in with the chamber music video I've made, and it links in with rehearsals and everything like that, and I think it's important to talk about. And that would be bad rehearsals, bad ensembles, like dealing with situations that you don't necessarily want to be in. As an average chamber music performer, I spend a lot of time playing with groups I've never played before, and sometimes they're really good and sometimes they're really not. And so I've learned some things on how to deal with that and how to make things better as well. Um, the first thing is if there doesn't seem to be a clear leader or someone really controlling the group, then step up and do it yourself. Um, a lot of the times, it's a lot of people who are not super confident in their leadership skills. And if you feel like you can, then do it. It's sometimes harder when you play an instrument that's not as capable of cueing. Like for a flute player, it's really easy because we do it all the time. But if you play horn or cello or something that's like harder to move with, it can be difficult. But it's still completely possible to give vocal cues and also to let the group, like, make sure the group is doing what you think it needs to do. If you're doing something with a composer or someone who is supposed to be running the rehearsal and they're not doing an effective job, you can't really take over. But you can definitely give suggestions like, hey, maybe we can do this again, or even take it on yourself and be like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, can we do it again? And if you feel like the person who is leading the group, who has no ordained right to be, isn't doing a great job, then you might do the same thing and just like, hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do this? Like give them things that you want them to do. And most of the time they'll listen. If they're terrible, then they might not, but that's another thing. If you're playing with people who aren't as strong, give them ways, help them along, give them all the cues you need. And if they're really struggling with a rhythm or something like that, give them a chance to figure it out. Sing it for them, play it with them. A lot of the times, what I've found is that there's sections where every instrument's playing the same rhythm, so have everyone play that rhythm together, and then they can hear it played correctly while they're playing it, and move forward from that. But definitely do not let major mistakes slide, but don't waste time trying to fix things that clearly aren't being fixed. Don't just repeat the same thing over and over again. Find new ways to help this person. Um, I mean, ideally, you have people coming in who've looked at the part, but that's not always the case, and you can't guarantee that. So if there is someone who's clearly just flailing around sight reading, then maybe try to isolate them or just let them flail and try to work with the other people. That's kind of a case by case basis, who the person is, whether you know them or not, whether they're capable of fixing things in the hour that you have, or whether you need to give them more time. Because that's also an issue, is sometimes people aren't good sight readers. Sometimes people aren't great at complicated rhythms, but they'll come back into the next rehearsal and be fine. So don't get super frustrated if someone's not getting something. If they don't get it after the second rehearsal, that's a different story. But in the first rehearsal, you kind of have to give people their space. If you are working with a large ensemble, it's really, really important to at least have a conductor for the first rehearsal, even if it's a piece that could easily be done without conductor, which happens a lot. Having a conductor for the first rehearsal is really, really important because it can really help you solidify it, and it means that the people who are flailing have something to lock onto rather than they're flailing and they have no idea where the downbeats are. That obviously isn't always in your control, and if it's a small chamber group, that's really not possible. In which case, then whoever has the most mobile instrument is going to be a human metronome. Or if you're lucky, you can hook a metronome up through a sound speaker system, which we can at our school, but I know that's not true at everywhere. But like hook a metronome up and just use that. But having some sort of tempo keeper in the first rehearsal, especially when you're working with people who aren't as strong as you, is really, really helpful. I've also really found that asking questions and making sure that you have every idea of what the group leader or what the composer wants is really helpful, because at least then you know what you're doing, and you can lead by example. That doesn't mean overplay everyone, but it means do what they're doing, and hopefully everyone else is good enough musician that they can fall in line. And if that's not the case, then you have the issues that are harder to deal with. Then it's a balance of, do I want to be associated with this performance? Do I want my playing associated with a group that isn't great? And while you don't want to bail and don't want to be unprofessional and leave someone hanging, I also respect not wanting to have your name attached to a bad performance. I really don't enjoy it, and I try to avoid it as much as possible, but sometimes it happens. In which case, you have to hope that everyone in the room is going to know you for your previous work and not for that one situation. And again, one performance and one competition or one audition does not a performer make or break. It can be hard to realize that in the moment, but this one bad performance isn't the end of the world. And chances are you played well. So you could be the shining star of a bad ensemble. I was at a summer music festival when I was in high school and was assigned to a chamber group of very, very young performers, and I was much older, and kind of ended up as the lead, and basically dragged the two other members of my group through the performance. And afterwards, the oboe professor at the festival came up to me and told me that that was the best he had heard anyone play the entire festival, and in fact told my parents at the end of the festival that my performance was one of the best he's heard at in his time at the festival. So although I hated that performance, I would never want that to be shared with anyone in the world. I made an impression. So, like, bad performances can lead to good things. But yeah, basically, it's about taking control in secretive ways, and making sure that you get the information that you need to play, and hopefully you can get a couple other people on board. That being said, if it's just bad, it is what it is, and it kind of sucks. But, yeah, that's why you go complain to your friends, and the next time you try to recruit the people you want to play. And it also gives you an idea of who you don't want to play with anymore. I hope this is a little helpful, or at least gives you some ideas on how to deal with some really bad chamber groups. And I will see you guys next week. My computer is still being stupid.